What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another late night in the BrewLab with me, Lone Fox, your brewmaster-in-chief. And tonight in the BrewLab, I'm coming at you with another episode of Spoiler Talk. And, holy cannoli. I know I keep saying this, I feel like a stuck record, but the good cards just keep on coming. The set is amazing. I'm having, just endless deck ideas every single day. There's just these incredible cards keep getting spoiled. We do have a few more from yesterday that arrived during the night after I went to bed, so we'll start off as usual with those, and then we'll continue on to day 12, or April 12th, day 6, I think, day 7. So yeah, Rabble Rousing. Probably the best one of the new Hideaway enchantments, at least for my playstyle. It's a 5 mana. I wish it was, I don't know, 3 would have been impossible. It would have been too broken for the cost. 5 is probably just perfect, but it does kind of end up being on the same slot on the curve as some of the other cards in the deck that I would like to play this in. But it's got many homes, and I'll try and prove that to you as we go along. But it's got Hideaway 5, so Hideaway, whenever it enters the battlefield, you look at the top 5 cards of your library. You exile one of them face down, put the rest into the bottom of your library in a random order. Then whenever you attack with one or more creatures, you create that many 1/1 green and white citizen creature tokens. Then, if you control 10 or more creatures, you may play the exiled card without paying its mana cost. So, clearly helping you get there really quickly, because every time you're attacking, you're doubling the attackers. It adds that many of these 1/1 green and white citizen creature tokens, which of course, in the deck where I most want to play this in is going to be the Cabarettis, so that's going to every time be triggering all of your alliance triggers. And it's going to really help with Jetmir. If you guys don't remember Jetmir, he's the leader of this crime family, the Cabarettis. And he cares about going really, really wide. And my question always was, when he was first spoiled, is are we going to get support to make it happen really quickly? Because otherwise, it's probably quite rubbish. Jetmir was spoiled all the way back here in March 31st, but he wants you to go really wide. If you have 3 or more creatures, they get +1/+0 and have vigilance. If you have 6 or more, they also gain trample and another +1/+0. And then, if you get to have 9, they also get double strike. So, I mean, that's just game-ending stuff in and of itself. Luckily, it's, curving nicely. You can go Nexus, Rabble, what's it called? Rabble Rousing. Jetmir into Rabble Rousing the following turn. And you've probably already put a few things on the battlefield before then you swing in, it doubles. You see where I'm going. And of course, if you get to go from 3 to 6 during the attack, the new, the creatures that you're attacking with would immediately get the trample already. So I like that, that it's kind of curving into each other nicely. And there's another great little synergy here. This card that was spoiled, the Halo Fountain, where was it? Which has one of those lines of text that we always try and abuse at least once every season, where it just says, you win the game. Halo Fountain. The third option here, untap 15 tap creatures you control, you win the game. You're going to be able to get to those 15 a lot quicker than I'd thought, thanks to the Rabble Rousing enchantment here. So, really, really sweet enchantment. Also can see it going in white weenies, all sorts of places. So, definitely one of my favorite of this Hideaway cycle. Next up, we got Knockout Blow. It's part of this cycle of cards that hates on a specific color. So, I mean, it's okay. The cost is actually fine for what it does in white as it is. So, if it's not targeting a red creature, you pay 3 mana, instant speed, deals 4 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. So, your gold spans can get hit, and most of the important stuff, really, that you're going to be dealing with on a day-by-day. Has about 4 toughness, so nice. And then it's got this added upside, you gain 2 life, which is also quite nice. But if it is a red creature, like Goldspan Dragon, then it only costs 1 mana to cast, and that's really, really good. I think this will be definitely a sideboard staple. That's just my opinion. I don't know. Let me know what you think, but really, really nice little instant there for white. Next up, we got this weird 15 mana 7/7 Avatar, Shadow of Mortality. Really cool artwork, amazing, like huge body, but doesn't do much. It just enters the battlefield and then just sits there for a turn and probably just gets removed straight away. And the only way you're ever going to get to cast this for anything less than 13 is if your life total is lower, because it costs X less, where X is the difference between your starting total and where it is at when you cast it. So of course, if you've if you're on 7, you can cast it for 2 blue, which is cool, but again, just sits there, does nothing, and then you have to. But there's some creatures, there's some things that care about, like sacrificing big creatures, or how much you spend to cast things. There'll be someone that tries to, and me as well, will definitely try and break it or whatever, but because it's a nice chunky body, but sort of does a little bit not enough. I think in current standard 2022. But that's all for April 11th. Interesting new enchantment and a nice little instant and some crazy 7/7. But as far as April 12th, woohoo, did we get some stuff today, guys. This is actually the second time I'm recording this. Something happened with OBS and the file was corrupted. I was unable to upload the first recording, and so for the first time since spoiler season has started, I am not going in blind. I have seen these before, little in the interest of total honesty, so I do know what's coming. But this is the Cabaretti Ascendancy, and it does not disappoint. I was kind of dreading the arrival of this one, because like I've said many times, Cabarettis do seem to be the crime family that most suits my playstyle, and I was worried that it would be rubbish, but it did not disappoint. So Cabaretti Ascendancy is the 3 colors of the crime family, like all the other Ascendancies, and it's an enchantment. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you look at the top card of your library. If it's a creature or planeswalker card, I like how it's creature or planeswalker, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. If I don't reveal it, I put it into the bottom of my library. My question is here the way it's worded, and I hope, because it's in Japanese and I haven't seen an English one around, that they haven't done some mistake in the translating. But if it's translated correctly, it does appear as though if the thing that you reveal isn't a creature or planeswalker, but is, let's say, an artifact, sorcery, or an instant, that then you don't have to reveal it, but you can still put it into your hand. I really hope that it's not that you have to reveal the instant and sorcery as well, or it'll end up at the bottom of your library. Because sometimes, in this Cabaretti deck, it's all about playing creatures. More creatures. Go wide, and triggering all of your alliance triggers and things like that. But then occasionally, of course, you do run other things other than creatures in your deck. There'll be some instants and sorceries that we want to be running, that sort of stuff. And so I'm hoping that I don't have to reveal that and give away what I've just top decked to the opponent. But otherwise, fantastic to make sure that you've always got exactly what you want. It's basically just scry every turn, which is just great. So happy Lone Fox. Cannot wait to play this on day one. Don't forget to tune in for that. We're going to be cracking loads of packs. I've saved up a decent amount of money, and I've already bought my 50-pack booster packs pre-release thingamajig. So day one is going to be, I think, probably very good. We should get the majority of the set on the first day. Next up, we've got Refused to Yield. It's a nice little fight spell. 2 mana instant. Creature you control gets +2/+7 until end of turn, and you untap it. So, you can trick an opponent potentially either into, blocking and killing one of his creatures if the thing that you're giving the +2/+7 to makes it stronger. But the main thing is here that you'll probably just be able to block almost anything in the format without your creature dying, because 7 is a lot to put on the toughness. So There's lots of other cards like this in standard. Will this be the good one to use as opposed to something like Wings? There's one called... I've always conveniently got my client open in the background that you guys cannot see. There's one called like Wings of the Cosmos. It's 1 mana. Target creature gets +1/+3, gains flying until end of turn. Untap it. Of course, it's much less toughness that you're adding, but it does gain flying, so you can block flyers. And it is only 1 mana instead of 2. These type of things, I think, will play well in this new Magecraft deck that seems to be getting a lot of support from the cards from Streets of New Capenna. Of course, it'll be the old Magecraft cards, but there's a lot of new cards that seem to play really well with the Magecraft mechanic that are coming out in Streets of New Capenna. Let's see if Refuse to Yield makes the cut, but otherwise in Limited, it's going to be a juicy little fight spell in white. Next up, we got Buy Your Silence. Definitely on point with the flavor text, but it's a draft chaff. This is a rubbish card. Exile target non-land permanent. Its controller creates a treasure token. So the typical mono white stuff. You know, you got a terrible downside for getting rid of the opponent's creature, and there's definitely way better cards. Maybe in Limited, but I don't know. This is probably just absolute trash. Next up, we got Psionic Snoop. 3 mana, human rogue. 2 colorless and 1 blue with flash, and when it enters the battlefield it connives. So you may be able to snag something. If you do connive, it ends up being a 1/4, and you flashed it in, maybe you can block something that's got 1 toughness and kill it, but again, mostly just draft chaff. Then we've got Dormir como Spaces. This is in Portuguese. Sleep with the fishes. It's basically, enchant creature, and when it enters the battlefield, that creature taps, and it doesn't untap in the controller's untap step. And you also get to create a 1/1 little fish token that can't be blocked. So, there's always one of these almost in every set. The last, like a Charmed Sleep. Charmed Sleep costs 3 mana. Does the same exact thing, but doesn't make the little fish. There's also the one with Kicker, which I quite liked, because it's only 1 mana. Bubble Snare. But again, you don't make the fish. I wonder if paying the additional 1 mana here will, it's worthwhile getting that little fish. Probably. And definitely we'll see playing in Limited. Next up, we got the next one in the cycle of these theaters. This one, it's the Obscura Theater. I think these cards are going to be maybe a 2 of, even in like your constructed decks. Definitely going to see a lot of play in Limited to sort of fix your mana. Now that I've seen the second one, I'm realizing the cycle is going to be all the same, and it's cool that they're all theaters, at least so far. You get to search your library for one of the colors of the crime family that you'll be playing. So that, let's say you're missing the one, you play this one, not only do you go and find the land color that you need, but you also gain a little bit of life. So quite nice. Definitely in Limited, and like I said, maybe like a 2 of even in your constructed decks. Then we got a sweet new rogue. Lots of white rogues. That's very unusual. Normally rogues are like not in white. It's the one color that doesn't have them. So interesting how they're kind of breaking a little bit the color pie thing here. Maybe for like party decks, there'll still be, a little bit of support for party before it rotates out in September. Getting some rogues in white is nice, but this one's like a little mini Lurus, essentially. 2 mana. 2 colorless and 1 white, 3 mana for a human rogue with lifelink. And when it enters the battlefield, you return target creature with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. A creature can't attack or block while you control Expert Rescuer, which is definitely a bit of a downside, but there's definitely, for example, that mysterious limousine. Let me show you in case you've forgotten. This is a sweet card, and like more and more, I'm starting to figure out the play patterns with it. And I can't wait to give it a whirl. Where you know, if you have already played, you know, because this comes down on turn 5, so maybe turn 3 you play your elite spellbind or something, and then maybe you play your expert rescuer here, or just another nice creature that can crew it, because it's got crew too. So you know, you can crew it with the rescuer here, and when it enters the battlefield, it'll exile one of the two, and then whenever, you know, the next time it attacks, you'll crew it with the other one that you have on the battlefield. Let's say your elite spellbinder in this example, and when you attack, it'll exile the elite spellbinder and poop out again the rescuer, and then you'll, you know, do the ETB trigger, fetch something from your graveyard. Then next turn you crew it with the thing that you fetched, swing in the elite spellbinder, comes out, you exile another thing from the opponent's hand. Like you get to continuously repeat your ETB triggers with, and there's obviously some really nice ones in white particularly, so I'm really looking forward to play with this little artifact, honestly. And there's a lot of vehicles. Like, well done Wizards of the Coast for giving vehicles a little bit more love in the set, because yeah, there were some good ones in Kamigawa, but the vehicle deck isn't amazing yet, and I think maybe it's going to get pushed a little bit more, maybe into a sort of tier 1.5, something like that, with this new set. And we're not even close to getting the whole thing yet, so who knows. But there's another vehicle over here which we'll get to, which is also really quite nice. So we'll have to keep our eyes peeled for that. Next up, we got something in German, which I need to definitely open a tab for. Syndicate Infiltrator. Well, that's easy enough to guess that. Syndicate Infiltrator. It's got flying. Fliegend. Man. Of all the languages, I even have, you know, my brother's children are with a German woman. I've spent plenty of time around Germans. I've learned, one of my best friends speaks fluent German, but I just cannot wrap my head around this language. Like, it's just, I can't pronounce the words. 2 colorless and UB, so blue and black. For a vampire wizard, second vampire wizard, we've got in standard right now. There's the blood cast something, you know, the one that makes the bat tokens. What was it? The Voldaren Bloodcaster. So maybe a little bit for the vampire party deck that I've been trying to build for a while now, with Zagras at the top end. Second vampire wizard might help that out a little bit. This is the... Now that it's not the first card I'm reading with this line of text in it, I'm realizing what Marrow meant during his teaser post on his blog before spoiler season started, when they said we have a new threshold that cares about you know, a certain thing in graveyards that we've never had before. I think this is what he was alluding to. 5 or more different mana values in your graveyard. There's more and more cards that are coming out that have this line of text, so I believe that's, yeah, I mean, I'm fairly certain that that's what he was talking about. So if you do have 5 or more different mana values in your graveyard, then it gets +2/+2, so it becomes a 5/5 with flying, which is probably going to be a little easier than I initially thought to do, because it's an Obscura card. And just a quick refresher for you guys, the Obscura have this connive mechanic, which will you know, loot. You will look at the top card of your library, no, draw the top card of your library and then discard. And so you'll be putting into your graveyard slowly but surely things that, you know, will help you get to this 5 or more different mana values. You'll definitely have to really build your deck around it, but if it ends up being a thing, I think it could be quite powerful, because then eventually you'll just be maybe reanimating some of that stuff or recasting it again or what have you. So yeah, nice little uncommon. Let's see if it ends up making any splash in the format. Next up, we've got Tavern Hazredurin. Again, cannot pronounce German. But this is another reprint. We got the it's the second reprint of the set. We got that Vandal, the Fairy Vandal. It's a reprint. And Tavern Swindler also. I used to play this in my Veto deck back in the day. You flip a coin. Well, first you pay 3 life, then you tap it. And then you flip a coin. First you tap it, then you pay 3 life. Then you flip a coin, and if you win the flip, you gain 6 life. Meh. I don't know. I kind of... It was okay with veto, because then you would just do 6 life to, 6 damage to the opponent's face. But in standard, I'm not sure where I would want to put this. Unexpected reprint, yeah. Meh. Meh. Eh. I think what's really interesting for me more than anything is the fact that we're getting lots of rogues. There's lots and lots of rogues. So, who knows? Maybe there'll be a really annoying rogue deck that emerges out of this format. Next up, we got a Rhino holding a Tommy gun. The Contracted Thug. Creature Rhino Warrior, 4 colorless and 1 green. Whenever Contracted Thug attacks, it gets +X until end of turn, where X is equal to the greatest power or toughness among other creatures you control. If it had trample, would definitely be something to consider. If it was a little bit, I beg your pardon, cheaper, also would be worth considering, but I don't know. What are people saying? Billy. Billy's quite present in the comments these days. By the way, if you guys don't know who Billy is, he's one of my oldest subscribers and, dear friend. And he's been in the Magic scene for ages. You'll find him all over YouTube comments and all over the place. And he's got his own little channel. And I thought I should just give him a little plug while I'm at it. If you guys want to go give him a follow, he puts up some funky brews. His channel's called MTG Hillbilly. Go give him a follow. Tell him Lone Fox sent ya. Then we've got anyway, yeah, so wrapping up on Contracted Thug. I don't know. I think it would have been much better if it was like 4 mana. At 5 mana, it's like right on the curve where you want to be playing your Ren and 7 or your Unexpected Growth, that kind of stuff. So probably not gonna see too much play, but I might be completely wrong. There'll be ways to give it trample, because it's there's plenty of ways to give things trample. Might end up being a thing. Let's see. Next up, we've got a sweet little devil here. The Devil Tribal now definitely has plenty of support. We're gonna be, you know me, this is the BrewLab. I'm a stickler for tribal decks, and I think we had some horrible devils in the last couple of sets, but it's slowly the amount of devils that we have to play with are increasing every set. And there's a really sweet one with the Alliance mechanic that was spoiled a little while back. Sorry about all the scrolling up and down, guys, but I do like to show you guys what I mean when I refer to a card. Otherwise, you might not know what I'm talking about. But there was that devil that has the Alliance mechanic. Somewhere down here. Here it is, the Devilish Valet. This guy. It, doubles its power. Only power, not toughness. So for each creature that enters the battlefield, so, you could have, you could cast a Burn Down the House on its second mode, where you make the 3 devils on top of this, and it would end up being an 8/3 or something with trample and haste. It's pretty nice. So yeah, and there's more and more devils. There's the and of course there's still the Planeswalker Zariel, the Archduke of Avernus, that didn't see any play, might finally find a decent home for that card. So yeah, Witty Insulter. When it enters the battlefield under your control, it deals. When another creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Unfortunately, it is on the same exact spot on the curve as the other devil, and it's clearly not as good. But in limited, I think this will definitely see a bit of play. Just like a little bit of ping damage every turn whenever you create a token, whenever you play a creature. It's not terrible. Next up, we got a Bird Assassin, the Aven Heartstabber. Rare, flying, and again, it's another one of these cards from the Obscura. Looks like, that way you should be probably playing it in an Obscura deck. If there are 5 or more mana values among cards in your graveyard, then it gets +2/+2 and has Death Touch. So again, with the +2/+2, nice. Like, I'm liking this kind of thing here. And when it dies, you mill 2 cards and then draw a card. So again, helping you fill that yard with different mana valued things, which is kind of what the deck is probably going to want to be doing, and then also drawing a card, which is not bad at all. And eventually for 2 mana you might end up getting a, if you do play it in the late game, you might already have those 5 different things in your graveyard. Then it comes into play as a 3/3 with flying and Death Touch. That's not bad at all. Next up, we finally got some angels. I knew it was coming. We have this, I think, the first angel since the beginning of spoiler season. You know, New Capenna is an ancient angel city that's been like overrun by demons or something during this war that they had with the Phyrexians. For those of you who missed the you know, the stories or are not really that interested in the lore, but yeah, I was convinced, and that's why I made my Kaya's Angels deck a little while back, like 3-4 days ago. It was because I thought we would get some sweet new angels that will like help out that tribe, and this I don't know, it's pretty freaking sweet. It's 3 colorless, 2 black for an Angel Nightmare. Got flying, of course, and it's a 5/3. And whenever you take damage, you prevent it, and then you mill twice that many cards instead. So in a sense, I mean, you can kind of never die. Of course, you can run out of cards, but if you get some kind of card that... Oh, let me get a sip of that caffeine. A little caffeine action. Those cards are like reshuffle your graveyard into your library, and perhaps you have a way of protecting this guy, then you essentially can never lose the game. And I think like maybe just a one-of alongside something like is that, oh, beg your pardon, there's that other angel that's 5 mana. Unfortunately, there's a lot of these good angels that are like at 5 mana, but I'm talking about the Angelic Enforcer. Let me show you here. Whoop. Whoop. For whatever reason, my game cannot show in the background, but anyway, the Angelic Enforcer. It's that one that if your life total gets made below 0, then it comes back as the Enduring Angel, and you gain 3 life, and then starts doubling your life every time it attacks. So it's maybe like having one of those and one of these Angel of Separations in your deck as a sort of way to make sure you just can't die. It could be pretty fun, and like, you know, maybe we have finally a really good way of putting all of our angels into the graveyard really quickly, and then having what's it called? Haunting Voyage be really, really good in that deck for once. Like, instead of going for all the sagas that I had in Kaya's Angels deck a few days ago, go more heavy on the creatures and have like maybe 2 or 3 copies of Voyage in the deck, and then just bring in all your angels back in one go. That's pretty nice. And you know, while you're busy doing that, you can't take any damage because you got Angular Separation in place. So good. I don't know. I kind of like it just because it's an angel, but we'll have to see if it ends up being any good. What are people saying about this? Now that's a card. So yeah, Sir Conrad definitely would like this a lot. But yeah, it's again like all these 5 drops. Lieza, the Enduring Angel I just mentioned, this guy, like there's a lot of stuff in that deck that sits on the 5-drop slot. We'll probably end up just going with like one of each as like these hope to top deck them in the late game type of thing. Anyway, I've talked enough about that guy. Let's go on to the vehicle I was referring to earlier, the Camión de Tesoros. It's a treasure truck or something like that. Treasure truck in Spanish. Interesting one here. 3 colorless, 1 red. It's got trample. It's same exact mana cost as a Seeker's Chariot, but probably not quite as good. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token for each artifact they control. So it's kind of weird. It's very situational. Like, there's going to be opponents that have no treasure or no artifacts whatsoever on the battlefield, so then you won't be making the treasure. But it's also just a 5/5 with trample, so even if you're not making a treasure, you're still getting in for 5, and it's got a crew cost of 3, which isn't bad. Good and standard, gonna be a commander darling. Dockside Extortionist for the desperate. PT is type wrong, it should be a 5/5, what do you mean? Anyway, I don't know. I honestly don't know if this is going to be any good. We'll have to see. We'll have to see if there's but it's cool that it's a red vehicle. This is the second red vehicle in standard. The other one was printed in Crimson Bar. It was like a pumpkin or something like that. We'll have to see, like I said. Next up, we got this really overcosted weird thing. Dusk Abomination. 7 mana for a 5/4. And as an additional cost to cast the spell, you have to sacrifice a creature, discard a card, or pay for life. And then when it enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices a creature, discards a card, and loses 4 life. So it's cool that you only have to do one of the things, and the opponent has to do all 3 of the things. But like at that cost, yeah, good and limited. Maybe. Meh. Draft chaff. Not going to be seeing any play in standard, in my opinion. Next up, we've got a sweet little vampire rogue, 2 colorless and a black, with menace and lifelink. It's a 2/3, and then you can pay 1 without tapping it. So it's a nice sack outlet. You can sacrifice another creature you control. You look at the top card of your library. You may put that card into your graveyard. At the beginning of your ebb step, if you have 5 or more different mana values among cards in your graveyard, you may pay 2 life, and if you do, draw a card. It's a lot of cards now that have this line of text in it with the 5 or more mana values, so it's going to be a deck. It's a little sub-theme or a little archetype of Streets of New Capenna. So let's see. I like this card though. It's not a free sack outlet. You do have to pay every time, but it's only 1, and it could eventually draw you some cards. In the right deck, I think this will definitely find a home, and I'm going to be testing it out straight away on day 1. Next up, we got Janine Faye, Jetmir's second in command. This one I'm a little bit skeptical of. I would love it for it to be good. But let me explain why I don't like it, okay? So if you would create 1 or more tokens, you may instead create that many 2/2 green cat creature tokens with haste, or that many 3/1 dog creature tokens with vigilance. So most of the time, you're going to be creating pretty good tokens. Let's just say it's angel tokens from something like Starnheim Unleashed, 4/4 vigilance flying. Why would you want to instead make a 2/2 green cat or a 3/1 green dog with vigilance? You know, the cat has haste, the dog has vigilance. Meh. I mean, of course, there's other times when you're just making much worse tokens. Something like, I don't know, a 1/1 human, or those little green and white citizens from the rabble rouser down here. In which case, then, you know, it's a little bit of an upgrade. But if it just didn't say instead, but it just said you also, so then you were doubling the amount of tokens that you were getting, then I would be super duper hype on it. But the way it is right now, these things that it poops out aren't amazing, so you're going to have to be, the instead thing will have to be instead of something that's a really rubbish token that you'd be creating. Then it starts to make a little bit of sense, but not my favorite card from the Cabarettis, I'm afraid. But I do like these new mana costs that they have, where it makes the card really versatile. Like, this can be played in mono green, it can be played in Gruul, it can be played in Naya. It can be played in Selesnya, so like super versatile. They can fit into so many different decks. Let's see if I'm completely wrong and it actually ends up being a bit of a house. Next up, we got Receptador Ardiloso, a 2 mana in Azorius colors, white and blue, human citizen, and when it enters the battlefield, you choose a non-land permanent. Abilities of the permanent chosen can't be activated, so you know you're kind of shutting down an opponent's instant speed abilities that he might have on some of his creature, whatever. And then the Cunning Receiver has all those activated abilities of the chosen permanent, except for loyalty abilities. I beg your pardon. But you can spend mana as if it was any color to activate these abilities. So, I wonder where it's gonna end up. A non-0% plausible turn. Mana Ring, Soul Ring. Okay, I don't play Historic. I have no idea what they're talking about. but we'll have to see if it ends up being relevant, maybe sideboard card or something like that. I would think it should have flash to make it really good. You know, you flash it in, stop the opponent from activating something, you know, when just before, you know, he's gonna, maybe one of his planeswalkers. Sure, you don't get to use the loyalty abilities on your Receptaria, but yeah, again, like, I'm not sure what you'd be doing with this exactly, but it might be really important to do this effect, you know. We'll have to see what else comes out in the set. There'll be even something like the fountain, Halo Fountain. Maybe the opponent's about to go for the win, and you know, you're gonna have to tap that artifact to do it. Receptaria Ardiloso, again, doesn't have flash, so... And does that only happen until end of turn? Oh no, that's forever. Okay, so that's good. That's okay, now it makes sense. I thought it was just until end of turn. So that non-land permanent that you've targeted cannot activate its abilities. You know, can be a planeswalker as well, unless Receptaria Ardiloso leaves the battlefield. Okay, that makes a lot more sense now. It's a fixed thing. As long as they don't remove him, that creature can't activate, or, you know, that permanent can't activate its activated abilities. Very Azorius-y. Probably gonna end up hating this guy. Actually, now that I keep reading the thing over and over again, I'm starting to get how annoying this could be. Next up, we've got a freaking sweet card, Void Rend, in Obscura colors. This spell can't be countered. Destroy target non-land permanent. What? This is really, really, really good. Uncounterable, you know, destroy anything except for land. Instant speed for 3 mana. I think this is insane. This is a really good card. It's going to see 4 of play in the decks that want to be doing this type of thing, for sure. Keep your eyes peeled for this one. It's going to be really annoying. Bye-bye planeswalkers, bye-bye enchantments, bye-bye artifacts, everything. It deals with everything. The only thing I don't like is, you know, sometimes you don't run Field of Ruin in a deck, and then the opponent's like getting you every turn with their freaking creature land, and you can't get rid of that land with Void Rend. So that's the only downside I can see here. Otherwise, it's just an incredible, incredible card. Be wary of this one. Next up, this is a mad one. Okay, it does cost 6 mana, but these days with all the artifacts and ramp and stuff, it's really, you know, with treasures, it's not going to be difficult at all to get to 6. And you get this artifact that gives this static ability. Lands you control have tap, create treasure token. What? So all your lands will tap, and when they do, they make a treasure. You know, whenever you're just using them to cast other stuff. Of course, it's got 12 comments. This is absurd, right? Yes. Yeah. Corvold likes this. Yes, of course, they'll still be able to produce mana. Man, yeah, this card is, I mean, maybe not busted, because it's 6 mana. It'll be a while before you can get it down. But when it does come down, you're just doubling your mana. That's like... And you know, there'll be decks that really care about pooping out all those treasure tokens every single turn. I think this is really, really strong Mythic. We'll have to break it as soon as possible. I cannot wait to give this a try. Probably some sort of Golgari deck. Play this along your Goldspan Dragon. The possibilities are endless. My mind is just going with this set. There's so many cool new decks that are going to be able to be built, and I'm just like frothing at the mouth to get brewing. Still a few weeks to go. Next up, we got another Angel. Unfortunately, it's not a very good one. Costs 1 less to cast for each citizen you control. There will be, of course, lots of citizens in this set. So it could eventually end up just costing you 1 mana, in which case then it's not terrible. A 1 mana 3/3 with flying, but Definitely not the best angel. Like, there'll be better things to play than this. Maybe in limited, it'll be good. Actually, probably just a limited only playable card. Next up, we got Fatal Grudge in Rakdos colors, black and red, a sorcery speed, and then an additional cost to cast a spell each, even as you sacrifice a non-land permanent. So, you know, sack outlet, you get your triggers or value out of whatever it is that you're sacrificing. And then each opponent chooses a permanent that they control that shares a type with the sacrifice permanent and sacrifices it. And you get to draw a card. I think this is definitely going to see some play. I'm not sure how many numbers and in which specific deck you'll be wanting to play it in, but even just your only called Anvil deck, you know, you sacrifice, it'll act as like artifact removal. You sacrifice your little construct, you get all of your synergies from doing that, and then the opponent now has to sacrifice an artifact that they have, and you get to draw a card. But then, of course, you know the construct is also an artifact creature. So if the opponent has no artifacts in play, then they'll have to sacrifice a creature, and you get to draw a card. Really, really sweet little 2-mana sorcery. I think we'll definitely see like maybe a 2 or 3 of play in your constructed deck that's you know, doing sacrificey stuff. So definitely a nice one, and I like the art on it. Reminds me a little bit of like Neo and the Agent. No, sorry. Trinity and the Agent falling out of the skyscraper in bullet time. You know the scene. Next up, I got a couple of kind of janky comments here. Obscura Initiate. 2 colorless and a blue for a bird citizen 2/2 with flying, and then it's got hybrid mana in Obscura colors. So, you know, it's white and black and blue. Obscura Initiate gains life ink until end of turn. It's not terrible. Definitely in limited, going to be pretty decent, but won't see any play in standard whatsoever. Next up, we got Tainted Indulgence. This is a sweet one. In that, you know, deck that has this line of text, 5 or more mana values among cards in your graveyard, this will be really sweet. Instant speed, pew, draw 2 cards and discard a card unless. So even if, so it's going to help you get to the point where you have 5 mana values among cards in your graveyard, because you'll draw the 2 before you have to discard, so then you can look at your graveyard, decide what you need to discard to arrive at that 5 different mana values, and anyway you've still netted a card. But then if you cast it later in the game when you've already satisfied this clause, then you'll get to draw 2 cards for 2 mana at instant speed. Very good. Definitely going to see some play. Like, seems to be kind of similar to this. This will be going in, you know, your probably Riveteer's deck. This is going in your Obscura deck. Nice, 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 nice. Very nice little instant. Next up, Celebrity Fencer. Elf Druid with Alliance. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you put a +1/+1 counter. Nice for limited, but just prohibitively expensive for standard, and a little understated for standard, in my opinion. Next up, we got Pégase de Hauparks. High Park Pegasus in Francais. Let me see if I can translate it. Flying. Piétinement. 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 Trample? Flying Trample, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, haha. À chaque fois que la blah 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 infliges. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so every time it deals combat damage to a player, pick a card. Okay. I can do it in my head, but I can't read it out loud. Whenever it deals damage to combat damage to a player, draw a card. If 2 or more creatures enter the battlefield under your control this turn. Okay, okay, what? Si vous avez fait arriver sur le champ de bataille sous votre contrôle au moins 2 créatures ce tour-ci. Wow. French is really convoluted. They have to make it so long just to say like something that in English just takes like half the amount of words to say. But yeah, only works if a low creatures cost, blah blah blah. Such a good cube card. I don't know, I've never played cube. But interesting. Interesting. Little 2 mana flyer Frampler guy. So you play 2 cheap creatures that, and then you swing in and you get to draw a card. meh, not that good. Quite rubbish. Not my cup of tea, but might see some play. Interesting that they gave this rare. I don't know if that deserves to be rare. Next up, we got Venom Connoisseur. This is actually I'm quite hyped on. It's a sweet little uncommon. Human Druid 2/2. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Venom Connoisseur gains Death Touch until end of turn. But then, if this is the second time this ability has resolved this turn, all creatures you control gain Death Touch until end of turn. Again, in the Cabaretti deck, you'll be definitely casting more than one creature or having more than one token enter the battlefield. So this is gonna give your creatures Death Touch, your entire board Death Touch more often than not, and I am going to be loving this in my Finn the Fanbear deck alongside the new little pew 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 Halo gun thing that we got back here yesterday. A little bit of support for the Finn the Fangbear deck. This guy, you know, if you don't remember from yesterday, you can have the equipped creature deal 1 damage to target creature that's blocking it. And if the thing that you have equipped this onto has Death Touch, then even if it's a 7/7 or whatever, pew, 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 you can just wipe out all of the blockers. And that, you know, you can put one of these on, you know, little Halo Tommy gun on each one of your Death Touches. And couple it with this Connoisseur here, and you've got yourself some sweet new tech for the Finn the Fangbear deck. I can't wait to give that a whirl. But even just in your Cabaretti Go Wide Alliance deck, giving all of your tokens and stuff that's attacking Death Touch makes the opponent definitely a lot more unwilling to block, and it's going to help you get through for those final points of damage. So I'm definitely going to be playing this card, and I think you'll see it in Standard a lot. Next up, we got another 2-drop vehicle. I wonder if this will like supplant Bank Bust Reckoner, but it is an interesting one. You tap it and exile 2 target cards from a single graveyard. Unlicensed Host power and toughness are each equal to the number of cards exiled with it. So it just keeps getting bigger. The more stuff, every time you tap it, you do the exile thing. I guess that's quite nice also, like in combat, right? So you block first, then tap. So, you know, right now when I'm blocking, it's only a 4/4. And then, so I would probably die because I'm blocking a thing that's a 5/5, but then you tap it, exile 2 things from probably the opponent's graveyard. Now it becomes a whatever that's bigger than the thing it's blocking, and you end up not losing your creature. The opponent does. So actually pretty freaking nice card, but I just don't know. That 2-drop slot in the vehicle deck is very packed right now. We'll have to see if it makes the cut. Next up, we have Sizzling Soloist. I love the art on this thing. He's jamming on his trombone. Another Alliance card. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, target creature an opponent controls can't block this turn. If this is the second time this ability has resolved this turn, that creature attacks during its controller's next combat phase if able. Not immediately apparent what you would want to do with the second trigger there, like, you know, getting the specific creature to, you know, forcing the creature to attack. But if you're like probably tapping out with your creatures every turn with the Cabaretti deck, then you don't want the thing that, I don't know. Probably not too good. But next up, we got probably my favorite card from tonight. Of course, it's Cabaretti. I'm biased, but this is insane. A little bit of like a one-sided board wipe potentially in Naya. What? Incandescent Aria deals 3 damage to each non-token creature. Sorcery speed, little 3 damage sweeper in the Naya deck. Heck yeah. The problem here is that there's going to be lots of stuff on a 3-drop slot again, but definitely going to see like at least a 2 of in the deck that wants to be playing this. And going back to my point from earlier with the Ascendancy, this is the type of stuff that I didn't want to reveal to the opponent. If it's well translated from the Japanese here, then when you get to look at the, you know, at the beginning of your upkeep, you look at the top card of your library, and then if it's not a creature or a planeswalker, you may not reveal it and just put it into your hand. I hope that that's the way it goes, because I'm not going to want the opponent to know that I've just top decked this and maybe get him to deploy a few more threats before I sweep them all up. This is going to be great against mono white. Fantastic little sorcery. Like Void Rend and Incandescent Aria, two really strong cards for the crime families that want to be playing them. And I cannot wait to give this one a try. Next up, we got Social Climber. More commons here. Another card with Alliance. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. Meh. Another Alliance card. 2 mana. 2/1 Alliance. Gets a +1/+1 until end of turn. Doesn't even put a counter on. Meh. Body Dropper. He'll count. I lost track years ago. So an Assassin, obviously. Devil Warrior. Whenever you sacrifice another creature, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Hey, not terrible. Then you can pay 2 mana, 1 black, 1 red, sacrifice another creature, body dropper gains menace until end of turn. That's actually not a bad little package, especially in limited. That's a really nice little package. You basically can give it menace at instant speed and grow it. And it's not triggering once each turn, so you can just do this for as many things as you can sacrifice. It could end games, you know? You just have a bunch of sack fodder, you swing in, the opponent's only got like 1 blocker, and then you just sacrifice everything, make it huge, and give it menace, swing in. Nice little card, nice little common. Well designed, I like that very much. Also cool flavor, cool art. Nice little common there. Next up, we've got another Cabaretti card. Fleetfoot Dancer. This one was this is where I'd arrived at in the first recording of this video, and then I took a little nap, went to bed, and now I'm back. So this is all stuff that arrived while I was asleep, so I haven't seen this one yet. A little bit exciting. 4/4 Trample Lifelink Haste for 4. That's really not bad at all. You know, it's on the same spot on the curve as Jetmir himself. But you wouldn't want to be playing 4 Jetmirs. You might play 3 Jetmirs. So then maybe 3 Jetmirs and 2 of these in your 4-drop slot. I like that it's a lot of elves in this thing. Also in the Cabaretti Alliance deck. Lots of elves. Giving me some thoughts. What's the elf? The one that makes more elves whenever you cast an elf. Might finally be getting some sort of retroactive elf support here. The Elvish Warmaster. Whenever 1 or more elves enters the battlefield under your control, you create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. So, more things entering the battlefield, more things triggering the alliance. Well, I think that could actually be a really sweet deck. Kind of just thought about that now. Nice card. I like the lifelink, I like the trample, 4/4... everything. That's actually well statted for the cost, because, you know, 4/4 for 4, but 4/4 Trample Lifelink Haste, Your Brewmaster in Chief is excited about that one. Next up, Elegant Entourage. 4 mana, 3 colors and a green for an Elf Druid. Another Elf Druid with Alliance. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, target creature other than Elegant Entourage gets +1/+1 and gain trample until end of turn. Probably just, again, too many things on the 4-drop slot. Won't be seeing play in Standard. There'll be better things to do, like the Fleetfoot Dancer, but maybe in, like, some mono-green elf deck that isn't specifically, you know, it's the type of thing, again, like, I keep saying this, but, like, you can keep mixing and matching some new stuff with all the sets, and I love how Wizards does that. So usually the first, you know, 2-3 weeks of a new set dropping, everyone's like just focusing entirely on the new cards and trying to build the decks with just the majority new cards. But then as the, you know, the new ideas run out, we start to try and figure out where some of the new cards would fit into some of the older decks. And so this might be like cool new tech for the elf tribal deck. We'll have to see, but I like that. It gives trample. Then we've got, okay, so they're not all theaters. This one's a courtyard. The Cabaretti courtyard does the same thing as the theater down here, the Obscura one we got today. You just go and search up the mana that you need, and gains you a little bit of life. Again, probably put like 1 or 2 of these in every deck that is wanting to play these colors. Next up, we got Rocco Siffredi. I'm kidding. Rocco Cabaretti Caterer. Another Elf Druid. 3 mana and X. So Cabaretti colors and X. Naya colors and X. Whenever it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you may search your library for a creature card with mana value X or less and put it onto the battlefield. Then shuffle. Nice. 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 Nice little tutor. Even if it's X is 2, you can go find, you know, if you're freaking Venom Connoisseur here or whatever. Definitely nice. We'll have to see how clogged up that 3-drop slot is, and it is legendary, so you might just want to put like a 1 or 2 of in the Cabaretti deck. I cannot wait to figure this one out. Like, I'm dying to play this set so much. What are we looking at? It's the 13th today, so 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks exactly. 2 weeks and a day to go. And finally, let's give the website one last little refresh, see if anything else came out while I was flapping my mouth. If my internet connection would just... Nope. Okay, that's it for today's spoiler season, looks like. Darling of the Masses. Another elf citizen, or you know, another elf, but this time it's a citizen. Other citizens you control get +1/+0. Okay. And whenever it attacks, you create a 1/1 green and white citizen creature token. Citizen deck, huh? Nice, very nice. Of course, again, that's going to trigger all your alliance because it makes the little token. And maybe instead of making the 1/1 token, you're going to be making a cat or a dog. She's riding a panther. I like it. I like it a lot. I definitely like it a lot. It seems to be the same, because yeah, I didn't show you guys the alternate art for this one. It seems to be the same lady. Is it? Green dress. No, a different lady. Anyway, definitely a sweet card to look at. It's a nice little uncommon. Again, unfortunately, it's this 4 mana, sitting on the same spot on the curve as Jetmir himself, but maybe in a Selesnya deck. Selesnya cat deck with, what was the guy from the Dungeons and Dragons one? Cat token. Drizzt Do'Urden. Might like to play this in your Drizzt Do'Urden deck. It's a 5-drop, it's a 4-drop, kind of curving nicely into each other. Interesting. But that's going to be it for today's spoiler talk episode. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for watching. I will see you all a little bit later for some fresh brews. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, until later, this is Lone Fox from the BrewLab, signing out. Peace, y'all.